What happened?
Take two.
Good evening. This is the Tibet Center, Kunshab Tardulinga Buddhist Meditation and Study Center, located in New York City, northern New Jersey. We are currently in northern New Jersey, in South Orange at our parsonage. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma, specifically topics from the stages of the path and other things. All the prayers we say are on the website, right up front. Just click on prayers. There's someone who has passed away whom you wish us to pray for. At the end of class, we do the Sutra of the Recollection of Three Jewels. Put their names in the chat box as soon as possible, because there is a 1 or 2 minute delay at the end. You may miss it. We neglected to pray for Jojo last Monday night, so we'll do so tonight.
Jojo is Maya's dog.
Yes. So we'll start prayer for the spread of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West, and hopefully the Reverend will join, the Venerable will join us, the Venerable Reverend. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon, and especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bound of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva of Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Refuge in Bodhisattva vow under the title Generating Bodhicitta. As usual, we say these verses 3 times each. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. As is our custom, we now say 1 mala round of Om Mani Padme Hum, the mantra of Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, who personifies great compassion. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. And now, live on our stage, the Venerable Reland. Tupten Lunda. Rato Kempo.
Will you be teaching
KHENSUR.
tonight?
No,
Rinpoche?
We'll be discussing.
We'll discuss, we'll talk.
I'll ask him questions, maybe. What time is it? How should those noble ones learn? Wish to get a discount.
Like a round table.
But I have some. This is Mathieu Ricard with 2 of his friends, a Korean Zen student and a psychiatrist. He's known them most of his life. This was originally published in French. It's about 15 years old. Christophe André, do you know him, the psychiatrist? Alexandre Jolien. Anyway, the discussion on love, life, Buddhism, etc. Christophe is a psychiatrist. So one of the things Mathieu starts off, we want the motivation for writing this book in the first place. And this is Buddhism in a secular ethics mode, because they're talking to a French audience, most of whom interested in gourmet delights, and I would imagine typecasting the French. Matthew says, clarifying our motivation here is a little bit like deciding what direction one is going to travel in when one gets up in the morning. Should one go north, south, west? In beginning these discussions, which are meant to supply the content of a book, it might be helpful to spend a little time asking ourselves what directions we want to give to our discussions. First, we have to ask ourselves if our purpose is mainly to help other people, got to put that in, wonderful, or to pursue our own personal interests. The big bottom line. So immediately, what? It's Mahayana. We can't hear Nikki, by the way, if he talks. Just say something so see if we pick it up.
There's a microphone right here.
You getting it?
Darren? Darren?
Yeah.
Can you hear from this microphone?
Yes.
Good.
Bono, Bono. Do you know Matthew? Recall you've met him? That's you.
He refers to me, we are fellow photographers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course. You know anybody who's not a photographer, by the way.
In today's world, we are all photographers.
I see. So the psychiatrist says this, Christophe. As far as I'm concerned, it seems to me that my motivation is threefold. First, I want to be helpful. I'm a doctor who writes psychological self-help books and who tries to help people with them, with their problem. Knowing that I can be useful to other human beings without necessarily meeting them in the flesh gives me a great deal of pleasure. I don't think I've ever written a book with any other motivations than to do that. I think that's true of all three of us. I want to help my readers suffer less and develop further as human beings. Spending a couple of weeks with two friends I love and admire is the second motivation. The boys got together. But no wine, please. He's a monk. Very nice. And he says his third aim for this book, but I see a third aim for this book with three voices. One, to bring the image that people have of us more in line with who we actually are, not idealized beings or so. We are sometimes wrongly perceived as sages. That's not our problem here, by the way. As though we have achieved a kind of knowledge and a way of being that makes us quite different from other people. And I would say that that's true. I mean, at least Matthew. I don't know the other two guys, but over the many books he's written. In life, he carries his vows, right, perfectly. Obviously, at least in my case, that's an illusion. This is Christophe, the psychiatrist. In talking about our own journeys and the difficulties we have had in becoming better human beings, I think we can help our readers a little more by reminding them that we are not their superiors. It seems to me that it is comforting for readers to know that there are not two categories of people, those who float 10 kilometers above their heads and those who are floundering around like themselves in the muck and mire of everyday life. Very nicely said. I mean, this guy's a bit of a llama, I think. Yeah. All humans are alike. We have to work hard to be better. And what do you always say, Nikki? We're meant to work on ourselves. See? I think they know you. This is Alexandra, who grew up severely handicapped and was in an institution as a young boy, suffered a lot. And finally, through his will, he was able to convince doctors and to get him into a regular school and not the special institution schools. Beginning this exchange, I have the feeling of entering an immense spiritual laboratory to explore life's great areas of endeavor with you. Taking up this heady challenge in the company of you two happiness experts both gives me pleasure and intimidates me a little. Their happiness. Matthew Ricard's sometimes called what? The happiest man in the world by some of the French media. I thought Trump was. Never mind. No politics, please.
What do you think of this? You're a doctor. are working towards helping others, one of the great dangers in making our way along the path is pride.
Mm.
And when people start to attribute a certain attainment on one, it's very easy to feel pride. And that pride develops into a certain arrogance that begins to ruin our wisdom, the clarity with which we help others. How does that sound to you?
Once
How do you
KHENSUR,
deal with that?
KHENSUR's addressing someone in the audience, she's not on camera, who's a doctor.
I found pride more at play early on in my career. It had positive and negative things. It was a motivating factor a little bit to get through the ordeal of being out of work and sleep deprivation. And then as you move on, I think the sufferings that you're trying to overcome seems to keep pride at bay. Pride is there, it's definitely there, our motivation just isn't pure. But I think I found that it improved with age.
Yes, I find it improves with age.
Like cheese, like fine wine.
But it's something, I bring it up because I think it's something that even when we are engaged in the kind of selfless work that these three gentlemen are discussing in this book that we're reading from, it's something to remain vigilant over, because it can so easily.
He's going to mention, he studies Korean Zen. He actually moved to part of the time to Korea to study under a Korean Zen master. He's a very interesting character. No, Alexandra, the one who was severely handicapped, still is. Less, but from what I get, I don't know these guys. So he's going to echo your statement just now.
But the motivation that they have expressed so far in what you've read, which is to benefit others, is, I think it's one to, as we've often said, to really set at the beginning of a day. And then you have to lead your life. You can try to remind yourself of it, but I think that it's also important to enter into the stream of life in as natural a way as possible. And that's why it's really important to set the motivation clearly at the beginning of the day.
Sounds like good advice.
Were you practicing Buddhist when you were a doctor early on?
I was reading a little partway, halfway through my career.
But with no sleep, you can't read much.
Not going to a center.
And you were on a military base for some time, right? And so how many Buddhist centers are in Fort Sill, Oklahoma?
No, I don't think that we should consider that these are particularly Buddhist attitudes. These are human attitudes. I think that, and we should see them that way. The motivating force behind the creation of all these Christian hospitals around the world is to hopefully to help people.
He's going to echo one of your thoughts now. This again, Alexander studies Zen, who grew up on this tough physical circumstances. Let's see. There are books. It gives me pleasure to. Most of all, what is important to me is that our remarks be helpful. There are books that have saved my life, so I would be happy if our discussion, without presenting any recipes, because there aren't any, could encourage those who are struggling and transmit to them the desire we share to engage even more deeply in the spiritual journey. Even the greatest spiritual progress is meaningless if it does not make us feel more closely connected with each other, if it does not bring us closer to our neighbor. And work on ourselves can quickly become to smell moldy if it does not open into genuine generosity. The ego is so talented and so twisted that it appropriates everything, or almost everything. There is certainly such a thing as spiritual egotism. I think Trungpa Rinpoche called it spiritual materialism or something like that. Spiritual ego. If we forget about others, we inevitably end up crashing and burning ourselves. We turn the very means that could save us into a trap.
Can you read that over?
I will, certainly. The ego is so, from the ego part, da capo. The ego is so talented and so twisted that it appropriates everything, or almost. There is certainly such a thing as, quote, spiritual egotism, which I underlined my. If we forget about others, we inevitably end up crashing and burning ourselves. We turn the very means that could save us into a trap. That is why it is of the utmost importance that we stay free from this pitfall along the way. Friendship heals a lot of ills. It gives us wings and comforts us. Friendship is what initiated our coming together. It is what makes our ever deeper the bonds that unite us, which nothing can demolish. It is essential never to forget that we are all shipmates sailing on the same ship. To cross the ocean of suffering, we have to work together. It is to this dynamic of solidarity that I would like to dedicate this book. That's Alexandra, the Korean Zen person, who's been down many tough roads,
So
has
that-
not lost his humanity.
What you've just read constitutes the basis of or for? Basis, I think it's an of, all spiritual practice.
Which divides it from material,
Yeah.
one side or the other.
That says it all. I mean, what-
There's a lot. Matthew now weighs in.
Okay, let's hear Mathieu.
Matthew, here, you're on. This book was born, to begin with, from our friendship and our recurrent desire to spend a few days together in open conversation about the subjects that we hold most dear. What an audience. What a group. The idea here is not simply to lump our mental fabrications together in one place in order to produce yet another book. It's not an ad campaign, guys. There are people who get a kick out of inventing new concepts and then promoting them as much as possible. But our aim here is to share what we have learned from our masters, spiritual and otherwise, from our studies, from our practice, meditative or therapeutic. As far as I'm concerned, it is only due to the wisdom and kindness of my spiritual masters that I have been able to transform myself even a little bit and place myself at the service of others. Now it is my turn to attempt to share what they have taught me, doing my very best always not to betray, distort, or dilute their message. You're doing the same thing. Very nice. Congratulations. You don't get a prize. Very well said. I mean, the guys. So now Alexandra, who's again the Zen students, because you don't get confused, because they're all French and the names seem the same for us. There is only one really urgent thing, and that is to engage fully in one's practice, to cultivate in oneself a burning desire to make progress, and to realize that we are capable of escaping from the prison of our conceptual mind. Deep. I mean, this is great. The prison of our conceptual mind. Let me out. People can theorize all they want about practice, but what really counts is living it day by day. I was attending a conference for members of a popular movement that protests the social injustice prevailing in today's world, but I soon found myself protesting against the protesters. That's pretty bad. He's French. They do that. They're always
So,
yeah, go ahead.
we're living in sort of fraught times politically,
Mm.
and I think it's important for us to remember that we cannot really, we as individuals do not have the power to truly change outside circumstances and outside tendencies and outside other people's ways of thinking. We have to simply concentrate on leading our own lives as well as possible. And I think that's sort of what he's saying there.
Go in.
And I think it's important to state that and remember that, there is the whole idea of taking a political stance is very much part of our culture, and there are a lot of political discussions going on at this time. But a spiritual practitioner of any sort works towards opening his or her heart and caring about others, and should consider the tempestuous environment that they are living in as being the opportunity to really work on themselves, rather than considering that that environment is a challenge to try to change the outside elements. But I throw that out there. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
What he has to say, listen to it.
No,
Oh, you all have to say. The southern you. Y'all.
I agree with you.
You're in the UN where all this stuff takes place. So you should see there's only so much you can do.
And only so much you can say also.
but there are many people who say that's a cop-out, that saying what I've said is not really assuming our responsibilities in the world and towards the world.
Oh, the navel-gazing argument, yeah.
And I wish to state that from the practitioner who's trying to work on his or her own afflictive emotions and diminishing them, that's the work.
In one of Matthew's books, he said, you don't criticize medical students for not running out and helping the sick. What are you doing sitting there in school? They're not ready yet. Similarly, we're not ready to really change the dialogue from the point of view of an undeveloped mind.
There was a lady in India in my class, and she was from California. She said
She was from India.
felt the same way. She thought, oh, I have to go out and join my friends and protest, because otherwise, they frown upon me. I'm not involved in a political movement, and I'm letting things go, and the government is going to get worse. And then she said that she said she can't really go out to the farms where the people are getting arrested, all
Yeah.
immigrants,
No.
and they're letting the vegetables and the fruit rot. And she said, what is she gonna do? Go out there and chase them and help them? She can't do that. I mean, if you wanna really make
You're limited.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're limited.
but
And then
internally we're
I think the
not.
monk we had there, he was giving a class, he also said, you know, he was on the same page as you were on, you know, he said, you can't really, change anything by going out there and protesting. He said you can still go out there and protest, but it's not really gonna change anything, because the government is gonna do what they wanna do anyway, so.
To a point, you know, you can't put your whole motivation in that direction. It's got to be we're very lucky to be humans, where we can reflect and imagine, and it's rare.
This is like an immediate
Yeah.
sense, but I think in a more profound sense, I think people can make a difference if they pray and if they work on themselves, and then eventually, slowly, do make an impact on other people, but it's not so immediate, it's not so direct, or people can't see that.
No, one can be criticized for taking that,
Sort of a passive stance.
yeah.
Yeah, and Matthew all the time gets that, and he answers back.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to, an enlightened being can do a lot more.
I suppose you can ask the person, the challenger, you know, what are the consequences of, you know, getting politically involved or trying to.
Depends on where you are.
Be careful of getting into such conversations.
Yeah, here we're not political at all. This is for everybody.
But even, yeah, you brought up when you enter medical school, you are initially not able to, prepared to really help others, right?
Correct.
And so you have to actually acknowledge that and simply work on your study of medicine. That very much the same.
He answers somewhat. After he ended with, I find myself protesting against the protesters. He explains that, saying, after all the beautiful speeches, I found myself standing alone in the pouring rain and had to make my way home on foot. He's handicapped. So all these people, blah, 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 they forgot the guy next to them who really needed their help in real life. It is meaningless to condemn the system, to blame everything on the world. What really matters is deeds, actually doing something to help. We shouldn't hesitate to follow Nietzsche's advice for the best way to start our day. The moment we wake up, we should ask ourselves if we can make at least one person happy today. Everything begins with one's, quote, neighbor, with the first person who comes along, as Christian Bobbin puts it. How can I be wholeheartedly open to the person I run into on the street or the people I rub shoulders with every day? How can I genuinely love a person who gets on my nerves? You better be developed. The Christoph.
So maybe it's also ego-driven, a lot of this.
A lot of it, yeah. You know, on both sides, you know. Yes, they like the microphone, they like the,
Power.
you know, the balcony speeches that all the fascists like to make. Mussolini, Franco. We can go on. Probably Julius Caesar, I don't know in his day. I was there, by the way. I'm kind of old.
So was I.
You want to hear the psychiatrist retort? How long have you had this? No, he doesn't say that. Christoph says, we might all be like those protesters who make speeches about altruism and don't help you get to the station because we're caught up in our concepts. Because as soon as the conference is over, we're right back into our own problems and concerns. Fundamentally, the essential message is not altruism is a beautiful thing, but rather, what can I do for other people right now, today? Take it out of the abstract. I'm thinking. What do you think? A concept by itself doesn't cure anything. It might be comforting, illuminating, satisfying, but sooner or later the cure always has to come through action. Would you say that's similar to our mental cures? The action being meditating, as you always say, working. You would say. It has to come through the body. It's through trial and error in real circumstances that we finally find out if an idea has power and meaning. It's when we put it into practice that we can learn what the consequences are for ourselves and other people. And then Mathieu will reply. You want to hear Mathieu's reply? The Venerable leak out. Mathieu says, the point you're making is right at the heart of Buddhism. We say that the value and sense of any teaching is measured by the extent to which it becomes an integral part of ourselves. I've repeated that. I mean, all the rest is just pointless. Getting a lot of prescriptions from the doctor without following the treatment he or she prescribes does nothing for your health.
I keep my Tibetan medicine on my shelf there. I look at it.
The dusty Tibetan shelf. Ideas are useful for clarifying our thinking, for helping us know where we're going, for determining the principles of our actions. But if we don't put them into practice, they're not good for anything. Merci, Mathieu. There's another important question that is worth clarifying. It again has to do with our motivation here and the possible use of this book. It's about the ambiguity of what is known as personal development or self-help. The ambiguity of personal development or self-help.
What is the ambiguity?
It is, if this development takes place solely within the bubble of our ego, it will feed the ego, polish it, ornament it with reassuring ideas, and so on. But all this will be within a very limited and narrow framework, and it will totally miss what we are aiming at, because the only way to achieve fulfillment is through compassion and openness towards others. At all costs, we must avoid having the exercises of mindfulness and meditation become havens where we can hang out full-time in the world of ego. Very nicely colloquially said.
So, but this, to take it to how we actually work on it and practice, it's not as if I'm going to go in this direction and really cultivate my sort of egotistical pursuit of spiritual practice, or I'm going to go in this direction. No, it's a moment by moment development of awareness and establishing our motivation for what we're doing. It's really something that we have to bring to the moment. It's not a life choice at a point. It's moment by moment.
Mindfulness.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't finish yet. As Alexandre often says, this is Matthew still talking, the inside of the bubble of ego, it feels rather stuffy. It's these in quotes, the inside of the bubble of the ego, it feels rather stuffy. Either you try to transform yourself for the sake of serving others and everybody wins, or you stay inside the bubble of ego and everybody loses. Because by desperately trying to be happy just for your own sake, you don't help others or yourself.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
Yeah, you're saying a little something different.
is that we're maintaining, keeping ourselves on the selfless path is not something, it's a constant job. We have to maintain an awareness of that constantly, because the mind, we are so preoccupied.
Egocentric.
Egocentric.
No, but not just, everything about us is aimed towards pleasing ourselves.
The idea we have of ourselves, not the real, the
I'm just
ego
talking
creation.
on a totally
Yeah.
worldly level.
Yeah.
What motivates me to, every step of the way of my life is to please myself and to avoid any displeasure.
I thought it was to get cameras. No, never mind.
And that's part of pleasing
Please,
myself. And the more mindful we are about how, that mindfulness has to be constant.
And the opposite of mindfulness is forgetfulness, as Thich Nhat Hanh always said. So that takes work. That is very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, for years, you could try to stay on, remember Later on in the book, they're saying if you constantly, at a certain point, you automatically will be open to people and be compassionate after much, much work internally.
That's way beyond my.
Way beyond mine too. And this, he mentions that they don't overdo that because this is a book for the general public. It's not for a bunch of monks that live, in seclusion. He's the only one that's done that. The other two were.
You're the only one among us who's been a mother, a grandmother, and a daughter. So the whole idea.
And an officer in the army.
Having selflessness imposed upon you, which I think motherhood does and grandmotherhood does.
Big
and being
point.
A doctor does.
That's a big point.
Is like wonderful, because a monk can be a very, very self-centered person.
Really?
Well,
With all the
we
controls?
have no
Well, the ones that
family,
run.
we have no.
No.
It's very easy for.
Yeah.
How is it to be a married woman without children? Well, you have a lot of cats.
I have a whole zoo, and I think they're all my children. And I try to see the world as everybody is my child, but that's very difficult to actually embody that.
Would you say the idea comes up from time to time?
No, as
What
soon
goes
as I
on?
get up in the morning, my motivating factor is I want food. I want coffee. And I want food.
Yeah, of course. My motivating factor is I don't want to get up. I want to go back to sleep.
Don't talk to me till I've had all that.
Right, exactly. But the cats get in the way. They jump.
Cats
on the
wake me up
counter,
every
and it's
morning.
like I have
As soon
to
as
feed
it's
them
light,
first.
they jump on your stomach.
They
Never
always
mind the
win.
counter. The stomach. Wow.
They don't do that with me, no. They're trained not to wake me up.
Mine are trained to be little
Do
scutches.
you have coffee in the morning?
Sorry?
Do you start the day with coffee?
No, I'm trying to get off caffeine. No.
I'm getting off on caffeine. Never mind.
Once in a while I have tea, but I'm trying to wean myself off it.
Hot water? That's good for you in the morning. That's very good, by the way. The hot water thing is very good in the morning.
Peppermint tea is good.
Mm. And it goes on, but let me pick some other that I underlined here. Maybe it'll be better. Alexandra's talking. Alexandra. How do you, in French, Alexandra? Or something like that. Talking about our paths. I'm skipping ahead now. At present, I draw my nourishment from the great spiritual traditions, in particular from the practice of Zen and from a life of prayer. He's the handicapped one of them. These enable me to experience more profoundly the three challenges to which life has summoned me. Everything began from my being disabled at birth. All it took was a misplaced umbilical cord to make me cerebrally motor incapacitated for life. Misplaced umbilical cord? You've delivered babies. From the age of 3, I grew up in a special institution, a rough and raw school of life. The main thing I discovered there, and it was a very heavy, direct impression, was how precarious our condition is. Precarious our condition is. Since then, I've been saddled with a feeling of insecurity and a fear of being abandoned, no doubt because of the wee bit overdramatic beginning of my career in life, and because of being separated from my parents. What this institutional life left me with was a sense of wonder with regard to the world and the need to keep moving forward. So he got some positivity out of it, wonder. Along with my companion in misfortune, some of whom was very seriously disabled, I also had to deal with death. One of my best friends, Tricia, was hydrocephalic. Water on the brain, right? So Marie's mother had to put a shunt to drain, and then she got coherent immediately. When I was 8, one of my teachers took me aside and said, "Go take a look at Tricia. She's down at the end of the hall. Look, see how beautiful she is." I went into the dimly lit room and saw my comrade lying in a coffin. I hadn't even known she was sick. This premature encounter with death and suffering both made me grow up and traumatized me. I will never forget this little girl lying there with her arms crossed as though she was praying. In that gloomy room I experienced a very basic call which oriented me toward the spiritual life. I felt in my flesh that without an inner quest I would be a total loss, finished. Pretty good at the early age to have that. And he talks about going to normal school, how hard it was to get there and all that. And he met a good teacher there, Father Morand. Along with being disabled, I'm skipping, it was a lack of affection that had the heaviest lasting effects. You're in an institution, it's not mommy and daddy, you know. Too many teachers have seen as their duty to preserve a supposedly therapeutic distance that seems to preclude all human warmth. I found myself surrounded by nuns who were rather on the cold side. They smelled idolatry everywhere, and when I said that I adored cake, they dryly replied, "One adores only God." Ooh. These are really special. Fortunately, Father Moran made up for that. His extreme goodness and his great erudition gave me a taste for the spiritual life. His good sense, his unreserved generosity, and his wisdom touched me deeply. Never underestimate a good gesture. Kind of amazing. It was very, very interesting. One adores only God. Let's see. He taught his father. He's talking about this priest was also a Zen master and the Catholic priest. And I've been committed to meditating an hour every day, devoting my body and soul to practice what really saves us. We are masters of very little in our lives. Big point that we think we can go protesting. We're masters of very little in our lives, and that is why it is necessary to give ourselves over without reservation to the spiritual life that sets us free one step at a time. Bravo to this guy. Nikki, you speak French. You should call him up and tell him a good day. I mean, really, it touched me a lot. The stuff the psychiatrist gets very thick. This is long, so we don't have time for it, I see now. We only got 10 minutes left. Well, Christoph's reply. You want to hear it? Psychiatrist. We have enough time. I very much like the 3 vocations you talked about, father, disabled person, and author. He was able to marry and father a child and everything. He's a family guy too. For me, too, being a father has been a revelation and a motivation for further development. I wanted to provide the best possible example for my daughters, and I saw right away that it was going to take a lot of work. My disability was simply being structurally and psychologically an anxious person. This is the psychiatrist who's worried. Very much inclined towards unhappiness. My efforts not to slide down that slippery slope are a constant factor in my everyday life. As for the vocation of author, basically, it is an extension of my vocation as caregiver. I very much like to help, to comfort, and to heal. When I read other people's books, yours, Alexandra Mathieu's, Christian Bobbins, and those of many other authors, I find that I am very sensitive to whether or not they have a therapeutic or enlightening aspect. I assess in my head the amount of good this is going to do the reader. As I see it, there are 2 kinds of books, those that provide help and those that are only there to entertain. My path? I was not born completely equipped to be a caregiver or to talk about suffering. I encountered all kinds of obstacles, infinitely smaller than yours, Alex. For a whole slew of reasons, I am a person who's profoundly ill at ease, pessimistic, and introverted as well. He's French. No, I'm joking. I really only feel capable of thinking when I am by myself. At the same time, I need other people. I often say that I am a gregarious loner. Whenever I've been able to talk about this dimension of fragility in my books and make clear how important it is for me to work on it, I think it has brought some comfort to my readers because it has made them see that having to work on this dimension is the lot of every human being. My big fear is to be idolized by my readers. Although the people I'm close to might like me, occasionally they admire some of the ways I do things, and they are also aware of my limitations. That's why I often talk about myself in books. It's not narcissism. It's something I do to expose the efforts I have to make in life. So he's frank, in other words, which is good. It was a matter of good luck that I ended up studying medicine and not becoming an engineer. When I was little, since I was a good student, I was directed toward scientific studies, and like all my friends from the time, I dreamed of building rockets or big buildings. At the last minute, I read Freud, who was part of the philosophy program. His writings completely carried me away, and I then decided to become a psychiatrist. Not a psychologist, but a psychiatrist, which resulted in my studying medicine and coming to the realization that I really enjoyed being a caregiver. Being able to help and comfort people brought me great happiness. This is all the more a revelation for me because in my student days, I had without doubt reached the height of egotism. I had never been taught to be altruistic, and all I wanted to do was chase girls and party. How unusual. Studying medicine little by little brought me in contact with real suffering, awful things. It taught me the importance of being there for people who were suffering. I realized that I had chosen the right profession because along with sadness I felt at the woes of my patients, being able to give them some relief made me happy and gave a meaning to my life that my other activities failed to bring. Giving care and comfort made me feel really good. Were my altruistic motivations ultimately selfish because they made me feel good? I thought for a long time, and I was ashamed of this cloaked selfishness. Much later, Mathieu came along and opened my eyes. He showed me that the sense of well-being that comes from caring for others was one of the benefits of altruism, one that comes as a bonus. It is a fringe benefit of altruism that isn't necessarily the primary motivation for it. Very nice. After studying medicine, I continued on to psychiatry. I saw right away that psychoanalysis, which at the time was the dominant force in our discipline, was not for me. It required assuming a posture of detachment, with which I was unhappy and uncomfortable. It made me feel limited in my spontaneity, constrained to assuming a distance that seemed to me inadequate in the face of people's suffering. As with the categories of the caregivers of your institution, Alexander, who took it on to be their duty to refrain from having an emotional relationship with the children under their supervision, it was then thought that psychiatric treatment was more effective if it was contained, marked by a sense of therapeutic distance. I don't know if that's changed or not. We were denied the immense power of emotion, compassion, empathy. We ignored emotion or tamped it down. I was tremendously uneasy with this approach of being distant with patients, not holding their hands, not giving them advice. I said to myself, "You're not meant to be a psychiatrist." I turned instead to surgery, emergency medicine, and obstetrics. I liked those disciplines too, but psychiatry continued to attract me. I came back to it by another route. Unusual guy. I left the academic scene. I gave up my ambition to land a career position in the hospital hierarchy, and I began to explore my interests. I trained in hypnosis and in family therapy. I met my master in psychiatry, Lucien Millet, M-I-L-L-E-T, Millet, you pronounce it that, or Millet, who was what was known as a humanist psychiatrist. With him, and with an alternative approach to the discipline, I felt like a fish in water. He was kind to his patients. He called them by their first names, took an interest in their lives, and tried to involve patients' families, rather than keep them at a distance. He practiced psychiatry the way I felt it should be practiced, with compassion and care for others. That's a discussion in itself, whether the detachment or it's a delicate line there. I began to feel at home. I acquired training in the behavioral approach to psychiatry that was then the countercurrent to Lacanian psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis. In the behavioral approach, we teach and offer friendship. We explain to our patients how their problems are produced and what they have to do to counter them. We are warm toward them and we take an interest. We also ask difficult things of them. We ask them to confront their fears and anxieties. Everything I did with my patients, I drew from myself, my own problems, anxieties, timidity. When I discovered positive psychology again, I took full advantage of it to counter my tendencies towards negativity, pessimism, and unhappiness. Then I encountered meditation, and this was a whole new thing for me once again. Another meditator. So the three of them are observers of the internal, if you want to put it that way. In working with my patients, I was rowing along with them in the same boat. They never knew this, but often I felt tremendous gratitude after these sessions. Bringing them to an understanding about something in themselves made it possible for me to understand something in myself. The patients were my teachers. I remember roughly 10 of them who transformed my life without knowing it. When you and I met, Alexander, you shared with me the idea of projetientes, a Latin word, P-R-O-G-R-E-D-I-N-T-S, referring to people who are working on themselves. You got a new word. This is a good one. You even had a group at one time with that name, the Progientes. I see T-shirts and sweatshirts.
That means,
Four.
four and gente is people, right? Four people.
Gradientes.
Oh, right.
I'm pronouncing it Spanish. Latin would be the progredientes. Progredientes, yeah, they won't say that. Yeah. 4 years of Latin, I still can't pronounce it. This is the great process I'm engaging with my whole life, to improve, develop, and progress. And part of my work is to explain this approach to my patients and encourage them to adopt it. It took me a long time to understand what Mathieu has been talking about all along, the supreme importance of altruistic motivation as opposed to self-centered motivation. I was so shaky that if it hadn't been for my medical career, my life probably would have taken a bad turn. I might have become a good engineer, but a bad human being. And I think I could never have taken in this altruistic message in any kind of deep and meaningful way unless I had become a father and a doctor and been tenderized by my children and my parents. Since that took a fair amount of time for me, I'm always careful to feel where my patients are with regard to this possibility and to show them this direction as something in the distance they can aspire to, without pressuring them to do anything they are not yet fully capable of. Big point. I encourage
This idea of becoming tenderized by
my
your
children, as in meat tenderizer, as in banging the veal cutlets. Well, you had cats around here who did the same thing. I encourage them to see, for example, the small acts of altruism can allow them to think less about their own suffering. This is one of His Holiness's thing when he was with the gallbladder problem, riding through the Indian country. So all those poor people, his mind went there and not on his own. But I never present it to them as a saving grace. I always forgive my patients for being too attached to their battered egos, and I push them to forgive themselves for their mistakes and their slowness. This is the path I have traveled myself. So that one, we run out of time. Whether we like it. Darren, besides Jojo, do we have any other names? No name. Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. For Maya's friend Jojo, and whoever else you want. Merci Mathieu. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who rise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The Holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha, the great jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata, pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, living from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure reign. Next, we have 8 verses on training the mind. Lojong. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I had benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices defiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. A prayer for the swift return of Rato Chungla Rinpoche, written by the current Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop. Sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes. Guru Lozang Tubuang Doji Chang, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lozang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, bodhisattvas? Possible for you till cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings. We beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Lozang Tenpe, magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moon-like face. So this concludes tonight's presentation. The next Dharma class or Dharma event, if you want to put it that way, will be Monday night, the 30th of March, 7 o'clock at 151 West 30th Street.
Correct.
There's no Tara this Saturday, and the following Wednesday, right back here, which will be April 1st. April Fool? No. April Wise. Here at the person. Thank you very much for your pleasant, kind, patient listening. Big love to all of you.